Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
Ismael Benito Aranda, John Eugene Bartaki, Patrick Francis Beck, Douglas Alvin Bennett, Wilford Lee Bloomer, Jerome Earl Bowers, Thomas Carl Bronson, Eddie Stephen Brown, Peter Joseph Canelakes, Ernest Ray Carr, Larry Rumain Carter, David Glenn Cheney, Rex Gordon Chrisman, Charlie Lynn Cochran, Arthur Edwin Comstock Jr., Robert Ivan Cox, Leslie Dwayne Krause, Walter Scott Davis, John Clayton Davis Jr., Peter Michael Donovan, James Edward Duckworth, Daniel Walter Duffy, Paul Douglas Dukes, Morris Gordon Dunn, Michael Frederick Elfling, Danny Ray Engesser, John Lee Irvin, Conrad Lee Flying Horse, Lorenzo Fox, Marvin Lyle Franklin Jr., David Jerry Givens, Lawrence Walter Glover, Terry Jean Graft, Lawrence George Grass, Charles Howard Gray Jr., James Brooks Heffron, James Howard Hepler, Ronald Clyde High, Richard William Hoffler, Raymond Kermit Honaker Jr., Ralph Michael Hooks, Eugene Hunt, Charles Philip Hutton, Harry Charles Iman III, James Joseph Jenks Jr., Ronald Johansson, Julian Stanley Key Jr., Frederick Russell Kilman, Donald Wayne Kimsey, Clement Foster Lajeunesse, Jack Daniel Lonely, Michael Dignan Lehman, Robert Henry Lerner, Daniel William Majors, Hollis Garnell Maple, Michael John McGarity, John Randolph McIntosh, Walter Roy McKee, David Leroy McRae, John David Merriman, James Edward Matoyer, Gary Raymond Metz, Charles Carter Myers, Anthony Miller,
Lawrence Arthur Millette, James McNally Mitchell Jr., Lawrence Richard Moan Jr., John Lewis Molyneux Jr., James Michael Moore, Lawrence Richard Moyer, Daniel Lee Mullins, Magnus Carl Nielsen, Frank Manuel Pacheco, John Panic Jr., Larry Hart Patterson, Richard Clark Perry, John Arne Polefka, Roy Lynn Porter, Michael Preslipsky Jr., Ted Wayne Qualls, Robert Eugene Rydell, Edictor Rivera Montes, Gerald Jason Roberts Jr., Richard Rockensteer, Ronald Dean Rogers, Edwin Byron Ryder, Ernest Eugene Sanville, Frederick C. Saunders Jr., Roger Allen Scarborough, Craig Allen Schmitz, Stanley Lawton Seating, Henry Beal Smith Jr., Nicholas C. Stefanik, Richard Edward Stephen, Larry Gene Taylor, Henry Benny Thomas, James Allen Toothaker, Stephen Rainier Toubray, William Carroll Weaver, Clifford L. Winker, Robert Lee Wilkes, Alton Wilkins III, Keith Leslie Wilson, Mark Stephen Witt, Douglas Paul Zerba,